All right, welcome to the Board of Trustees meeting. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join in a moment of silence for our fallen servicemen and women. All right, so we're going to begin this evening's meeting with the oaths of office of Police Lieutenant Matthew Walsh and Police Sergeant Anthony Baker. Deputy Mayor Marciano will be doing this oath of office.
File first.
Mayor and Board, I'm proud to present Lieutenant Matthew Walsh. Matthew Walsh joined us from the NYPD. During his tenure in the NYPD, he was a sergeant at a very busy anti-crime unit. And in 2006, he joined the Garden City Police Department. He served as a field training officer for new recruits. He was promoted to sergeant, which I had the honor of promoting to sergeant in 2019. He's a good leader. He's very good with the cops. He knows the job. And he has a lot of experience, and he'll be very good for this village. Lieutenant Walsh.
Thank you.
Yes, cool. Okay, so raise your right hand. I state your name,
I, Lieutenant Matthew Walsh,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York
and the Constitution of the State of New York
and the laws and ordinances of the Village of Garden City,
and the laws and ordinance of the Village of Garden City,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of a police lieutenant with the Garden City Police Department
the duties of a police lieutenant with the Garden City Police Department
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
By the powers vested in me as the Deputy Mayor and Police Commissioner of the Village of Garden City, I declare you duly appointed. Congratulations.
Mayor and Board, I'm proud to present Sergeant Anthony Baker. Sergeant Anthony Baker has worked for the Garden City Police Department, serving his community for more than 12 years, working various patrol and operational assignments. He also holds a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from C.W. Post. He has shown himself to be a professional officer with outstanding community relations skills and respect among his peers. We are confident he will continue the tradition and excellence and professionalism that we know and expect from the Garden City Police Department. He's a young, he really cares about the village, and he's going to be good again for our new officers we'll be getting soon. So I'm proud to present him to you.
Raise your right hand. I state your name,
I, Anthony Baker,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York
and the Constitution of the State of New York
and the laws and ordinances of the Village of Garden City,
and the laws and ordinances of the Village of Garden City,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of a police sergeant with the Garden City Police Department
the duties of a police officer of the Garden City Police Department
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
By the powers vested in me as the Deputy Mayor and the Commissioner of Police of the Village of Garden City, I declare you duly appointed. Congratulations.
Jen, come on up.
That's how they're staying.
No, you can stay. Okay, yeah, stay. Thank you. Paul, can I get one just me, huh? Otherwise, I get in trouble. I get in trouble.
Given orders already, eh?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah,
come in.
sure.
Yeah. And you can do like that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, so the next item is quick resident comments, no more than 1 minute each, limited to 30 minutes overall. This is something we started a few meetings ago. It's intended for residents who are unable to stay for the whole meeting, but wanted to tell us, say something quickly, and we're giving you that opportunity. If you can just state your name and address.
My name is Madeline Nelson. I'm at 76 Wellington Road, and I've been living there for 56 years. And I'm here because I would like the board to reconsider their, and I have a petition for neighbors that agree with me, that they're going to repave the street. And in order to do that, they're telling me that there's a Disability Act that the curb has to meet the slab perfectly even. If not, you have to take the slab of concrete out, even though it's in perfect condition, probably better than if I put in new ones. And that's why I'm here. I could well afford to put new sidewalks in, but it's like I have a brand new car, but I put new doors on it. I mean, why waste? So my solution was, they say they're going to put new curbs in too. So if they're going to put new curbs in, why not make the curb meet the slab so you don't have to take the slab out? I'm just against replacing the perfectly good slabs for no reason. That's not a good reason. And that's all I have to.
Thank you for coming and for getting the signatures from your neighbors. And we spoke on the phone, and I think, Mr.
Yes.
Baroni, have you spoken to Mr. Baroni? I think they're gonna look into everything. We have, the code is the code, and I guess you can speak to that, but we'll see if there's any way that we can get the sidewalk and curb to code without unnecessarily replacing.
Okay.
That's your ask.
Thank you
so
very much.
that's what we can do. Thanks for coming.
Hi, I'm Kathy Wysocki. I live on Locust Street, and I have a comment and a question regarding St. Paul's. The community has been advised that before the Board of Trustees makes the decision on the future of St. Paul's, a non-binding referendum would be submitted to the residents. Residents would like to know what date the referendum or what dates are being considered for the referendum, and what options will the residents have to vote for? Because different things have been talked about for the St. Paul's building.
Okay, so as soon as we have that information, we will absolutely share it. The board has been, speaking extensively. We're working hard, working together to get to that promised vote. So we'll share the information as soon as we have it as to the date and to the referendum language.
Will you share it on the website or on Garden City News or what?
It'll go out in all, wherever we share news. So the website, you will hear.
All right, we'll be
not
able
to
to,
worry.
residents will be able to see it.
I think one of the things some of the people are concerned about is that we would be rushing a referendum in September. And I've tried to state that I don't think we would. And I think people are looking for guidance in the sense of, is this something that we would shoot for more in October, or November, or December? And I think they're just looking for guidance that way from us.
Yes,
Michelle and I spoke a
yes.
lot, and we are kind of thinking the later, but I don't want to announce anything and then cause everyone, you said it was going to be this date and it's that date. So as soon as we have it, but
Okay,
Um,
that was the point, because summer, a lot of people are away, and in September, all the kids are going to school, and it's a very busy time. And people wouldn't be as available maybe to go out at night and vote, because school, September is a very busy month for a lot of the parents who have children going to school.
we recognize how important it is, and we're going to do everything to make it as great as, everyone will have the information, and the date will be one everyone, hopefully will be able to attend.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
Mr. Saki.
Any other quick comments? This is quick comments if you're leaving, if you're not staying for the meeting. That's the point of the quick comments, because, okay. All right.
My name is Bill Cool, 69 Pine Street, Garden City. I'd like to know, please provide the residents with any resume of Don McLeod. He seems to be all over the place, interjecting himself in every single thing that's going on in the village. And I'd really like to know what his educational background is, curriculum vitae, and how he got into this position, working with the board when he's not an elected official, he wasn't appointed. And so I'd really like to understand what this whole process is, that he seems to have input everywhere you go.
All right, so just to that point, we have not retained Don McLeod or asked for his resume. He is a outspoken citizen.
Yeah, but he
So-
seems to be very engaged with the BOT. He shows up at the library, he shows up everywhere and puts his 2 cents in. And he's the one declaring he wanted to say wall space in the library for the Tiffany window, which would seem to indicate that you already made a decision on demolition. So I think there's a lot here going on that isn't made public.
Let me just assure you, because I'm not sure where your information is coming from, if you don't, it is the people up here who will be making all the decisions, and Don McLeod is a resident. So if someone's saying otherwise, rest assured that's not true.
Mr. Cool, this is Ed Finner, and the legislating that this board is doing is being undertaken by the 8 people who are in front of you right now. And we'd be happy to take input from any citizen, but rest assured, what you see is what you get with these 8 people.
Quick comment, they have to leave the Zoom and need to say something now? Okay. Actually, we have one on Zoom opened already, and then we'll go to the one in the room. Okay.
Hello, this is Ryan Mulrooney, 147 Hampton Road. I'd like to follow up
You're not
on
coming
that.
through really, if you can raise your volume. Go ahead. Go ahead, Ryan.
Okay, I'll try this way. Can you hear me better this way?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Okay. Ryan Mulrooney, 147 Hampton Road. In the mayor's message on the website and the Garden City News, transparency was promised to the residents. In that vein, I would like to know how Mr. McLeod accessed the building. Was there a posting on the website asking for resident volunteers? Did he petition the board to enter the building? Did he write the board? Why was he allowed in the building? allowed to then, tour the building, take pictures of the building, and go onto social media and espouse his views based on his tour. And then when other residents asked for the same access, they were denied. So was there a posting of asking residents to volunteer to go into the building? If not, how is he chosen? Did he submit a formal letter to ask to access the building? And if so, why weren't the residents who did the same given permission to access the building?
Okay, so Don McLeod did come into the building with me when I went in for my one and only time that I've been in the St. Paul's building. And he had reached out to me numerous times with information. He is very interested in the building, very interested in particular in the stained glass windows. Has been speaking with our village historian. I think he's probably spoken with everyone on the St. Paul's committee. I think we all know he has a great interest in the building, and he had reached out specifically on the stained glass windows. And I actually, part of my reason in going into the building was to confirm what the condition of the stained glass windows was based on some varied information. So he accompanied me and trustee Finneran and trustee Chester when I first went into the building. And after no one else, I actually asked Ralph Swazi at that point, is anyone else asking to go into the building? No one else had asked to go into the building. That was my first time in the building. I did open it up to all of the trustees who, if they wish to go in the building, have gone into the building. Since then, I was advised by Mr. Swazi that tours are not, we shouldn't be having tours. We'll continue to look into that. I've told people, I think all that have reached out to me, maybe about 10 or so, that we're not doing tours now. What I'm looking to do is try and replicate a tour with pictures and video so that people can see the condition of the building right now without any risk of going into the building. So that's where we're at that's why Don McLeod came in, and that's what
I think it's,
our status now, of course.
personally.
But this is the quick comments, Mr. Mulrooney. So we do have a
Yeah,
whole
I just want
agenda.
to say, well, a lot of people have been verbally attacked by the man you let in the building. And I just think it's a poor showing of where this is going. The fact that the founder and executive committee member of the political party you're a member of got special access, where he has no historic qualifications. If I want to look at the doorknobs, do I get in? If I want to look at the doorknobs, I think it's a very bad look for the mayor and the trustees and where this process is going, that one resident got special access, and that resident, as the previous speaker said, has his fingerprints all over the place and seems to have undue access that other residents do not have. And I think a lot of people it really raised a lot of eyebrows of what's going on with the process. Thank you.
I'm sorry that you feel that way. Okay. Is there anyone else who has a
A lot
quick
of people
comment?
do.
Madam Mayor, with regard to Mr. McLeod, if you took any-
This is, yeah.
I thought I did. There's a work. Okay. If Mr. McLeod took any photographs, is there any possibility that could be shared with everybody else?
Absolutely. Anyone who has pictures, and I think they should be, because there's so much discussion and everyone's doubting the truth of everything being said. So what I'm endeavoring to do here is to share things and make it very clear. I do think some of the pictures that he shared may have been the St. Paul's Committee's pictures. So let's get this organized and do a very clear. I don't think your microphone's on, but I think, yeah. Sure, yeah, there's no problem with sharing his pictures. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And I actually took some video too. When I was in, I took a little video tour of the chapel that I'm happy to share too. But I think we should put something together for the whole community, because I don't think it's just the 10 people who emailed me. I think there's an interest in the whole community in seeing what the inside of the building.
Yeah, I think it would be in the best interest if we get all the pictures. I mean, Mr. Jabbour talked about 400 pictures he's got. So let's add his 400 to whatever else Don took. I've got about a half a dozen on my phone. I'll share them with anybody now. So nothing new.
It's all going to be open, and absolutely, there's no keeping pictures secret. All right, we had a woman in the room. Did you have a quick comment?
My name is Jessica. My address is 79 Brixton Road. And we moved here 2 years ago from Belmore and we love the town. So I'm also a little concerned about what's going to be on the referendum. And if you have like demolition and then you have other choices of different ways of preservation, then if the votes get split, more people may want to keep it. But if you split it 3 or 4 ways, like the demo might, like I'm just concerned, like what's going to be on the referendum. And also I just want to say, when we moved here, we really love the historical view of the town and how like tight-knit the community is. And like when we moved here, my friend who was in Garden City South was actually saying to me, oh, you're moving to the park with the pool. So we know like the pool really is a staple of the community. And that really, that's when people talk about it, like that's how they refer to us with the nice pool. So it really could, I'm just thinking if we have a St. Paul's Community Center and it's going to improve our community experience even more and also increase our property value. And also like, with the space that we have, if it's possible, if we could have like a toddler place or even like open spaces for after school clubs or like music or art or like, woodwork study groups like the Scope would has in the summer. If like different kids from different schools can all go to St. Paul's to the community center, which offers all these activities, I think that's going to be huge for our town. And also like, because we're very proud of our athletics. At the same time, I think if we have more spaces and programs for like the arts and the academics in a town community center next to the field, I think that's gonna uplift our arts and academics as well. And also like I grew up in China. And during the Cultural Revolution, we really tore down a lot of things. Sorry. So once it's gone, like you can't have it anymore. So I think it's really serious. I think we take this seriously. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Very much.
And I think a lot of the sentiment you share, a lot of people have those same sentiments as far as possibilities of what we could have there. So, and the difficulty of the vote, we fully understand. And that's why you don't know yet what it's going to be. We're working hard on that because it's not easy. Got to get down to 2. And we all agree on that. And it's getting there. So we're working hard. Thank you. Any other quick comments? All right, so we'll move on to comments by department heads, beginning with Mr. Baroni.
They're ready.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees. DPW has 23 items on the agenda tonight. Sorry, I will try to keep it brief and to the point. That's the record.
It's your record.
Item number, I'd like to direct your attention on the Public Works. Item number 15 is a request for approval to ratify additional funding in the amount of $3,350.90 for work performed by H2M in the fiscal year 22-23. The work performed by H2M was for initial testing necessary to comply with health department mandates for the lead and copper rule and included biweekly sampling, a corrosion control study, location of sample collection points in GIS, and communicating with 65 residents to collect and answer sample questions. Item number 16 is a request for approval to transfer funds and to ratify additional funding in the amount of $30,787.38 for work performed by H2M in fiscal year 22-23. The work was performed for the continued health department mandate related to the lead and copper compliance. It was the next phase, which included meetings with the village, collecting the initial distribution samples, pilot testing for orthophosphate, and GIS tracking. Item number 17 is a request to transfer $912.04 and to approve a change order in the amount of $34,616.40 to install new 2-inch bluestone coping on the brick walls at the Nassau Boulevard train station. The intent of the bluestone coping is to enhance the look of the wall and provide a weather-resistant coping to the wall that will not allow water to seep into it. Item number 18 is a request for approval to ratify payment to Allen Industries in the amount of $20,069.55. The additional work was needed to create water main loops on Commander and Lindbergh Streets, which was a design change that resulted in the saving of several trees and disturbed vegetation. The additional work also covers the installation of a new fire hydrant between Magnolia and Washington for fire code compliance. Item number 19 is a request to approve a change order for the DPW garage door replacement project in the amount of $13,975 to install a new vinyl roll-up door on one of our salt sheds. The new door is required to meet compliance with the Nassau County Department of Health. Item number 20 is a request to approve a change order in the amount of $58,969.20. This is for the addition of orthophosphate treatments at wells 15 and 16 and is related to the homeowner lead issue. Wells 15 and 16 were never part of the original proposal because it was under AOP treatment construction. The site is now ready for the work. Item number 21 is to approve a transfer of $14,543.48 and to ratify 5 change orders in the amount of $21,149.92. The change orders are for various items of work that were identified and needed to be completed during the roof construction. Change order number 1 for approximately $80,000 was not approved. Item number 22 is a request to engage H2M at a cost of $71,000 for inspection services, contract administration, and GIS mapping for the Stewart Avenue and Clayton Road water main replacement project. The village obtained 4 proposals from qualified firms and H2M was the lowest proposer. I would like to also clarify that there is an error in the agenda. It states for the bidding, the project has already been bid and it was open today. Item number 23 is a request to engage Thornton Tomasetti at a cost of $18,000 for engineering services to design a new HVAC system at the Waterworks building. The existing boiler system has required extensive maintenance and is in need of replacement. We will also seek rebates from PSEG for the actual construction, similar to what we did at Village Hall. Item number 24 is a request to amend the fire station renovations capital project to include the replacement of the apparatus bay door for Fire Station 3 and to engage American Door to replace the door at a cost of $14,800. The bay door is old and deteriorating and replacement is necessary. Item number 25 is a request for an approval to join the Long Island Water Conference Purchasing Group. This will allow the village to obtain more competitive pricing on various water supply goods and treatment chemicals. Additionally, this will save the village time and money by avoiding the need to bid certain items. Item 26 is a request to approve the maintenance bond and bond endorsement in the amount of $150,108.80 for Energy Mechanical. The HVAC and structural repairs have been satisfactorily completed at the Garden City Senior Center. The acceptance of this bond guarantees the work for 18 months. Item number 27 is a request to approve the maintenance bond in the amount of $328,490.04 for Philip Ross Industries. The orthophosphate installation project has been completed. All sites included in this work are operational and working well. The acceptance of this bond will guarantee the work for 18 months. Item number 28 is a request to ratify the purchase of a Ford Explorer in the amount of $45,067.20. The purchase of the vehicle was approved during the budget sessions. However, this amount exceeds the approved budget of $40,000. The village realized the cost savings of approximately $52,000 on a vacuum truck, and a portion of this savings will be used to cover the additional funding of approximately $5,000 to purchase the vehicle. Item 29 is a request to transfer $29,768 from contingent and to purchase an additional set of temporary speed hubs. This will allow us to test multiple roads concurrently. Item number 30 is a request to transfer $13,750 to engage Honda Industries to rehabilitate the existing 9/11 memorial. The rehab will include the replacement of worn pavers, upgrades to the monument lighting, and the installation of 24 in-ground recessed lights. 23 lights will be placed in a circle to represent firefighters from the Garden City that gave the ultimate sacrifice on 9/11. And one center light will represent the rest of the village and anyone that has passed us afterwards. The upgrades will enhance the ceremony performed by the fire department each year to honor these firefighters. Engineering worked closely with Chief Perella on this design. Item number 31 is a request to engage D&B engineers at a cost of $9,000 to conduct a limited sewer study along Franklin Avenue and 11th Street. The purpose of the study is to determine the total available capacity, how much of the total capacity is currently being used, and what will be the remaining capacity in the surrounding area. Our sanitary system is currently experiencing capacity issues at the intersection of Franklin and 11th, and there are several building upgrades and change of uses along the Franklin Avenue, 11th Street corridors that are going to be contributing to this problem as they plan to be completed within the next few months. Mr. Swazi will be speaking on items 32 and 33. I'd now like to direct your attention onto the library. Item 34 is a request to approve change order 21 in the amount of $5,197.85. The change order is to remove an existing floor mounted electrical box and reinstall a flush mounted floor box in the same location. Under award of bids, item number 37 is a request to award an extension of the current curb, sidewalk, and road improvement contracts with Pratt. The contract included a option to extend for an additional year. Item number 38 is a request to create a new capital project to transfer $276,945.50 and to award the 7th Street Crosswalk Improvements projects to J. Anthony Enterprises. This project is to enhance pedestrian safety to the crosswalk in front of Dunkin' Donuts on 7th Street. It includes the installation of bump outs and a raised crosswalk. Item 39 is a request to reject the low bid of Hink Electrical and award the bid of water supply electrical services to Wire to Water. The bid is for standby and emergency electrical services for the water and sewer department. The operation of our systems has many high voltage controls, relays, and generators. This contract will be used on an as-needed basis. Item number 40 is a request to approve the award of work uniforms to various vendors listed on the agenda. This bid is to purchase work uniforms. All items are ordered on an as-needed basis. Item number 41 is a request to accept a letter of rescind from Veteran Electrical Supply and to award the 2023 streetlight poles, luminaires, and accessories to various vendors listed on the agenda. This contract is a rebid of the items that we received no bids on during the first bid attempt. That's all DPW has on for this evening. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to try and answer.
John, on the Nassau Boulevard wall at the station, what is how much is the expenditure so far that we put into that? Or maybe Irene knows that.
I'm not sure what we awarded the project for.
We awarded it in the vicinity of $141,000.
That's
Give or
what I
take.
thought. And where are we now with that?
There were no change orders
Change
on that
orders.
project as far as I know.
So we're going to stay within 141 on that.
That's correct.
Okay.
Except for this change order.
Right, if this change order be,
This change order will lift that up a little.
correct.
Okay, that's.
It was 350 in the budget for that wall. 141 was the actual amount and 35,000 is change order if the board wished to approve that.
Okay.
Awesome. Oh, I'll talk louder, that's all. That's my wife. She wants to know where I am. Mr. Barone, again, item number 22. If you could give us a better explanation of what is happening as there is, well, there has been thoughts of changing that intersection since I was a trustee 2 decades ago. So how would this impact any of the work that is intended?
I'm not sure how a redesign of the intersection would impact this. This is work to, item 22 is to replace a water main on Clinton Road from Osborne Road south to Commercial Avenue. It includes jacking under the Long Island Railroad. Additionally, it's to replace the water main on Stewart Avenue from Clinton Road east to the village line. So this is strictly water main. This item 22 is for the inspection services for the water main replacement.
So that at some point. So at some point in time, the road will have to be then opened up for the water main to in fact be replaced.
That is correct. The project was bid out. We opened it today and we're going to start checking references.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There are no other questions. Thank you.
You estimated before the meeting started. Before the meeting started, you estimated with regard to item 29 that you had been told the delivery time for those second set of temporary speed humps was 5 to 6 weeks. Was that it?
4 to 5 weeks quoted from the vendor.
Even better. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
All right, thank you, Mr. Maroney. Mr. Giovanelli.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees. The building department doesn't have anything on the formal agenda this evening, but I just want to give a recap and performance of the department. The department for the month of July has issued 70 building permits, performed 118 building inspections, and taken in a revenue of $71,000 for the month of July. That's all I have this evening. I'll be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Giovanelli. Ms. Wu.
Good evening, everyone. Item number 1 under finance is the appropriation of termination reserves. Board authorization is requested to appropriate $728,425.34 from the reserve to fund termination payouts for 4 employees who have left village service during this time period. 3 of them are from the police department and 1 employee is from the finance department. Item number 2 is the appropriation of revenues for the police department. Under the New York State Civil Practice Law, certain funds that are received as a result of some crimes, forfeiture of funds are held in reserve. Any unused funds from one fiscal year gets appropriated into the second year for unbudgeted items. And the second bullet point pertains to the actual revenues that were received in the prior fiscal year. And so the request is to appropriate that in this year. I'm sure the police commissioner can speak a little bit more clearly about this item as well. Item number 3 is related to the engagement of to reappoint professional services. Mostly these are the law firms that are utilized by the village, as well as an audit firm that is used to perform claims and payroll audit services for the year. So the terms and rates are on file with the village clerk, and most of these rates have not increased year over year. Item number 4 is a request to reverse some of the funding that was transferred to a capital project that is now closed. So if you recall, a few months ago, the village appropriated, or the board approved the appropriation of about $400,000 to the senior center HVAC replacement project. That project was completed under budget. The remaining funds that are in that account are now being requested to transfer back to our ARPA account. And that amount is $274,457.86. This brings our balance that remains in our ARPA funds of about $600,000 that the board can then reappropriate to future projects as needed.
Excuse me, Ms. Wu, can you just remind everybody what the ARPA fund is?
Sure. ARPA stands for the American Rescue Plan Act. And this was funding that the federal government has provided to municipalities as a result of revenue losses due to COVID. The village received a little over $2.1 million over the span of 2 years. And the village has appropriated most of that funding over the last couple of years to certain capital projects that benefit the residents. So we've appropriated funding for the pool the vinyl covering, I'm sorry, the pool vinyl, covering in the pool, the library HVAC project, the senior center flooring HVAC project. So many projects that, the residents can benefit from. We've appropriated funding for those projects.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Item number 5 is a correction of errors that's being requested by the village assessor. There were 2 properties that were granted reductions in their assessed values during this year's grievance process. However, they were incorrectly omitted from, the reductions were incorrectly omitted from the assessment roll this year. And these properties were billed the full amount of the taxes, which they paid. So this is just a correction to refund the portion that was overbilled. Item number 6 is the tax certiorari settlements. These are proposed settlements by village council on these various properties that span, the several fiscal years. And this also includes the last item is also a clerical error correction on those 2 properties.
I'm sorry, Ms. Wu, on 6, I think it's important just to highlight the fact that the refund, as you said, covered several years. It's 5 years. So essentially you can divide the refund by 5 for an annual amount, correct? More or less?
More or less.
7 years. Okay, good. Thank you.
Yes. Number 7 is a request to write off what's deemed uncollectible accounts receivables. These are 2 claims that were sent out as a result of damage to village property from traffic accidents. The village clerk reviewed this with legal counsel, with the legal committee, and it was deemed uncollectible. The insurance companies are not paying for these amounts, and it would cost a lot more money to continue to try to collect these amounts. So these are deemed uncollectible. So we're requesting the board authorization to write off these amounts. Number 8 is transfer of funds for the 22-23 fiscal year. As you know, we're currently undergoing the year-end close, the year-end audit for the 22-23 fiscal year. And certain accounts are underfunded, so we're requesting transfers of funds to make those accounts whole. The first item is about $30,000 that's needed to fund inventory items in the water department that for items that were used throughout the fiscal year. Item number B is for electrical invoices in the street lighting department. And item number C is for various payroll accounts as a result of the CBA agreements that were completed in the fiscal year and the increased salaries for those departments. Item number 9 is a transfer of fund in the current year. And this is basically just a correction of the budget. The overtime was budgeted in the water department, but in the wrong department for an employee whose department is in the water department, but a different department. So it's just a transfer from one department to the other. And those are all the items under the finance department. Any questions? I'll be happy to answer.
All right, thank you, Ms. Wu. Mr. Blake?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Recreation has 3 items on the agenda tonight, starting with number 14. Request permission to send Park Maintenance Supervisor Sam Simone to the National Recreation and Park Association Conference and Exposition, scheduled to be held in Dallas, Texas from October 10th to October 13th. Approximate cost of $2,200. Funds are available in our operating budget. Moving over to item number 35, we have an award of bid, assorted clothing for both the recreation and DPW departments. And this is golf shirts and sweatshirts and t-shirts that are worn by part-time and seasonal staff in these departments. We're recommending award a bid going to several vendors, MV Sport, low bidder for items 1, 2, 5, and 6. Top and Bottom Wear, low bidder for item number 3, and Empire Printing, low bidder for item number 4. These items are ordered on an as-needed basis, based on unit cost on file with the village clerk, and our estimated cost is approximately $13,250. Funds are available in both the recreation, pool, and DPW accounts. Number 36, Community Park replacement of outer vinyl covering on the tennis building. We are requesting authorization to reject the bid from AM Restoration, Inc. of Richmond Hill, New York, as they do not have the necessary experience to complete this project successfully. We are then requesting authorization to rebid this project. The low bidder, AM Restoration, supplied 4 or 5 references, none of which were anywhere near the scope of the project we're doing. They seem to do a lot of fabric covers over rental car lots, and they've done some interior work, but they've never tackled a structure like this. So due to the lack of their experience, we would like to rebid this and move the timing of the project a little bit. We will now have to go out to rebid, so that will take us some time, and we will not be able to complete this project before the next tennis season starts in September. Now, the bubble fabric is in decent condition. It's had a few repairs, but there's no reason it can't go another season with a little tender loving care. But as we promised the tennis players, we will be replacing all of the LED lights in the building before the fabric is done, and we will be regrading the tennis courts before the season opens in late September. The new time frame would be to get the bid out in January, accept bids in February, and have the project start in April when the tennis bubble indoor season is over. That would let us get back in business by late June or early July for our summer programs. We also reached out to the company that originally constructed the bubble, Universal Fabric Structures. We put the bid out based on their specifications, and Mr. Baroni and I were stunned when they did not put a bid in to do the work. And we investigated and found out that they have had a couple of people out on serious health issues, and they just could not get the bid ready in time. So I already have contacted them about the rebid, and they assured me that this time they will be submitting a bid, and we'll hopefully get a better qualified contractor to do this work. That's all we have on the agenda. I do have one more item, and it's one that's been kind of waiting in abeyance in the tree world. And it's not good news. It never is. The spotted lanternfly has landed in Garden City, and we have spotted them at a couple of locations, including the Waterworks and the Senior Citizens Building. And for anybody who hasn't heard, these are invasive species that came from Southeast Asia, mostly China and Vietnam. They've been in the country for several years. They're just now making their way into New York. And they are considered to be a serious enough threat that anybody that sees any of these bugs should, number one, squish them, and number two, report them to the State Agriculture Department. There is a link on their website that allows you to fill out a form where you saw the creatures, what you did with them, and ask for map coordinates so they can trace them. We will be putting this information on the recreation website tomorrow morning. I'll be happy to share it with anybody that would like it tonight. And hopefully we can get a committed effort towards stopping these little critters. They are moving further south and west as we speak, and the DEC and the State Agriculture Department are concerned about them. For the most part, they go after ornamental shrubs and bushes, but they do like maple, walnut, and birch trees. And while we don't have a lot of walnut trees in the village, we have an awful lot of maple trees, and we have a good number of birch trees. So we do have some prime targets for these lanternflies, and we want to try to get on top of it. That's all I have this evening. I'll be happy to try to answer any questions.
Well, I have a question, not in regards to the items you spoke about. Saturday I was at the pool with our grandchildren, and the men's and women's restrooms were closed down, so.
Yeah, well, the swimming pool has 67-year-old pipes, and like anything 67 years old, they tend to clog up from time to time. Should be noted, we had an exceptionally heavy crowd on Saturday. It was the postponed family fun day. The weather was hot. We were overwhelmed. As soon as the staff realized that there was an issue, they closed down the restrooms. We directed everyone over to the restrooms at Community Park. We made an emergency call to our drain cleaner, citywide drain and sewer. They were there Sunday morning, bright and early, cleared everything out, and things seem to be running just fine now.
Good, excellent. Thank you.
Any update on the mini golf that you want to share with us?
I did send a couple of replies to a resident that questioned us yesterday. I think you were all copied on that. We did run into a delay with the vendor. As I explained in our email, there are only two companies that build this type of course, and only one of them bid on our project. The gentleman, it's a family-owned business, small company. He's unique, let's put it that way. And he had started working on our project, and then when we requested his tax information and other financial data, he stunned us by saying that we needed to send him a down payment to get the project completed. And we discussed this with Mrs. Wu and Mr. Lipke. We talked to our controller's office, and they basically said absolutely not. So we were at a stalemate for a good 2 weeks, but I managed to talk the gentleman into working with us, and Mrs. Wu and her staff have been terrific. We are going to pay on delivery for the supplies when they come in. So they are once again happily working on the course. I don't have a delivery date, but as soon as I do, I'll share it with all of you. In the meantime, we have the electrician in running the final hookups for all of the obstacles. DPW has ordered the stone blend that'll be used underneath the fairways and the greens, and we are prepping the site as best we can for the delivery of the materials.
Do you expect it before the end of the summer?
I expected it back in June. So I would like to think so, but I just don't know. I will touch base with the gentleman again tomorrow. I talked to him. Some weeks it's been 4 times a week. Lately, we're down to 2 times a week. I'm his best buddy now, and I'll see if I can't get a little firmer commitment out of him.
Thank you. On the spotted lantern fly, I have seen people have been posting that, but perhaps the village should put on our village website and share it on Instagram and Facebook to get the word out to, if you see them,
I
squish
will.
them.
I have a picture of one of them on my phone. I'll get a letter over to Carissa in the morning with a couple of pictures and see if we can't get it out right away.
Is there anything we can do? I mean, other than squish them, of course, but is there anything else?
Honestly, no, they're difficult to kill. And each lantern fly can drop anywhere between 50 and 100 eggs at a time. What you need to look for on your trees is, and we'll post this as well, the lantern flies tend to build little nests that look like little strips of mud. So if you see any kind of mud-like long rectangular strips on your trees, there's a possibility that's a lanternfly nest. There doesn't seem to be any treatment that doesn't involve the use of heavy pesticides, and that's not something we really like to do. The DEC has not told anybody to go out and do that. And I think some private owners have tried that. I don't know what the success rate is. This is one of those evolving problems that we're seeing for the first time, and the research is still a little spotty, but we'll do our best to keep everybody informed and stay on top of this.
Thank you. All right, Commissioner.
Paul, I'm sorry, Paul, would you mind to give just a quick update on the platform tennis as well?
Platform tennis is getting ready to go out for repairs. We did have a repair quote from RJ Riley Green Mountain Platform Tennis. We were waiting for a quote from the only other company in the area that does this work, called Court Pro. They finally got back to us last Thursday, I think, telling us they are unable to perform the work. So we are going to be back to you, nice folks, at the next meeting, asking you to declare Riley as the sole source, because there's nobody else that can work on these things. At which point we'll issue a purchase order and Riley will come in and resurface the courts.
Remind us, Paul, so I know we had, given there's only 2 people, is this company Riley the ones who did the work that's currently there?
No, Riley is the company that we had been using in the past.
Originally.
When we were going out for prices from both Court Pro and Riley, both of them had, well, Riley's the Cadillac of platform tennis courts. That's generally acknowledged. Court Pro has done a good job for us in the past. And what happened was Court Pro kept beating Riley's price. and we have to take the lowest responsible price. And so we used Court Pro for a few years. For most of those years, the work was fine. We didn't have any issues. The last time around, however, their work was a little less than perfect. And we are quite honestly a little happy that they said they can't do the work this year.
Okay, thank you.
And do we think the repair work will be done by the season?
I have an email from Kim at Riley that said that they should be able to get this done before the season starts.
All right, thank you. Commissioner?
Thank you, Mayor. Just to add to what Irene said for number 2, finance number 2, the department maintains a civil forfeiture fund. We get this money when we particularly usually make an arrest dealing with drugs or high property crimes. And what happens to the district attorney's office upon completion of the court session, the money gets put up between the victim and then it gets put out to various, the district attorney gets some, Nassau, if they're involved, they get some, and we get some. So that's how we get our funds. And when we get these funds, we're supposed to use them for unbudgeted items. So we really, most of the time, we use them to enhance the police function as well as the safety of the officers. Just last year, we bought breaching tools, which is very important in this climate for officers to get into the buildings in a quick manner. We also bought outside carries for the officer bulletproof vest. The outside carries give more flexibility, safer, also helps their reaction time. And then we also, this year, with the combination of civil forfeiture funds and grants, because we had some grants involved, we were able to buy a new fingerprint system that's important in doing research of bad guys and personnel checks and license checks. So this is a very important item that we got, and we didn't have to budget for it. Right now, we have $38,205.61 left in the remainder of the 22-23 budget. And we also were asking that to be transferred to this year's account, along with $14,141.44 what we did accrue last year. So these have been great items. In the past, we have bought ballistic items, weaponry. We bought special software for tracking phones and stuff like that. So we have really used these items to a good degree and help our investigative effort and also to safety of our residents and also our officers. I have one other item is on August 1st. Every year with the help of Recreation National Night Out, it'll be August 1st this year. It's a Tuesday. It says night out, but it's really a daytime now. They want us to all spread out. So we'll be doing between 12 and 6, we'll be doing National Night Out. And basically it's a community-based program where everybody would be meeting at the pool. Everybody come to the police department and the officers will be there and they'll just talk about safety, things they can do to enhance the safety of their residents and themselves. And anything they just want to go over. Sometimes the children really love it. We usually have a couple of giveaways and this is a nice time. It's just a nice setting where the officers can relate with the residents and just go over whatever that concerns them. So that's all I have.
Great, thank you. All right, Chief?
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees, village residents. The fire department does not have anything on the formal agenda this evening. Just to provide you some information, for the month of June, we have responded to 89 fire calls. 83 of those calls were signal 8s, which are our lesser alarms, automatic fire alarm service calls. We had 4 general alarms, 1 extrication, and 1 mutual aid. Just a couple summer tips for everybody. The use of propane, charcoal, wood pellet barbecues are for outdoor use only. Indoor use can lead to fires and or carbon monoxide poisoning. Never leave cooking equipment unattended. Make sure to closely monitor food when it's on the grill. And please make sure to keep your grill well away from the siding and decking in your backyards. I'll answer any questions that anyone has.
Thank you. Great. Thank you. Mr. Fishberg.
Ms. Wu has mentioned the tax surge settlements. I have one other item that's not on the agenda. You'll recall a few months ago, the board approved an extension of a license agreement at 1300 Franklin Avenue, and this was a license agreement for that building to maintain a portico. An agreement was prepared and sent to the owners of the building. There was a little bit of a glitch in terms of one of the items in the license agreement requires a $50,000 deposit to be placed with the village in the event that the portico had to be removed. It was basically an assurance that the village would have the funds. Nobody could recall whether that money had been deposited earlier. Finally, I wrote a letter, and the owners were reluctant to submit another deposit. We finally wrote a letter to them and said that if they didn't submit the deposit and sign the agreement, I was gonna recommend to the board that the portico be removed. And sure enough, they have now indicated that they're going to make the deposit. And Ms. Wu, you should be getting it shortly. I gave them your address to, your name and address to send it to. That's it.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Swazi.
Good evening, Mayor, trustees, residents. Mayor, I have 3 items on the agenda and I want to comment on 2 others. Item number 16. I'm sorry, item number 13, village court prosecutors compensation increase. Board authorization is requested to increase the compensation for the village court prosecutors, which were reappointed at the April 20th, 2023 Board of Trustees meeting. The terms and conditions of their agreement will remain the same, with only the change being an increase of their court session from $300 to $350 per court session. The increases for the following individuals: Christopher Gamoka, Robert McLaughlin, Mary Beth Malloy Talt, and Joseph Trino. There's a correction to this agenda item, as this increase was not included in this 2023-24 Justice Court budget. However, the prosecutor count for this year is budgeted $55,000. Last year they used $47,400. At the current spend rate, they should need about $52,500 this year. So I don't anticipate any transfers needed, but if they will be, it'll be late in the year, very late in the year. Mr. Baroni, I love listening to you when you have 23 items on the agenda, sir. Number 31, he mentioned I would take care of. I'm sorry. 32 and 33. Number 32 is for the New York State Consolidated Funding Application grant. This is a governor-driven regional economic development council initiative. It basically is for the 12 state agencies throughout the New York regions. It's one application, one-stop shopping, where you can input your projects and find the funding source. I'm not sure how many of our capital projects have regional significance, but nonetheless, so the first item 32 is asking you, the board, to authorize me to apply for grants that are applicable. The second one, number 33, is specifically targeted toward the New York State Climate Smart Communities Grant Program. I believe the Meadow Street drainage improvements might fall under the environmental consequences of climate change, and therefore the flooding that's impacted that area may be applicable to this grant. And it requires a resolution before I can apply. They have threshold questions on the application. If you answer no to a significant one, the application stops. You have to correct it and go back and start the whole application over. So I started this one and I answered, no, I do not have a resolution, because you have to load it. So I can't even do this till tomorrow if you pass this. So that's what those 2 are about. It covers things like direct assistance to businesses, community development, agricultural, economic development, waterfront revitalization, brownfields, energy improvements, environmental improvements. That's the one I think we qualify under. Sustainability, workforce development, low-cost financing. A lot of the grants are oriented toward economic development, job creation, saving jobs. So it's a big swath. It's a very complicated application. I will apply to as many as we can, and hope the results will be positive. They'll announce in the fall. The deadline is July 28th. That's why this is on tonight's agenda. Because of some heavy rains upstate, they have extended some grants categories to August 11th. I'm not sure which one's why. I wanted to comment on number 22, the water main replacement on Clinton Road at Stewart Avenue. what's important about this project is twofold. The water supply east of Clinton Avenue is restricted by an old main. I believe it's a 6-inch main, possibly 8. We're going to put a 12-inch main in there. So it'll help us with water supply for fire protection. Now, 555 Stewart Avenue, which is a new building down at that end by the back end of Roosevelt Field, it gets its water from a different main, but nonetheless, they will be paying for the replacement of the main in front of their property line. So it'll be subsidizing that portion of the project. The other project going south down Clinton, going past Bosse's, there's a 4-inch water main there. So you can see how if we need a large amount of supply because of a well failure or fire support, that 4-inch main is a bottleneck. So this will put a 12-inch main. It goes right under the tracks and over to Commercial Avenue. So I just wanted to add a little color to that item. And the fact that 555 Stewart is paying for that section of main is because it was part of what's known as a water availability letter, which H2M produced for us, and as part of the circumstances replacing that main. So speaking of water availability, let's turn our attention to the other item I want to talk about, which is the study, the sewer study. Let me just get the correct number. The item number 31, limited sewer study. The reason this is on the agenda is because the Nassau County Family Court is about a year away from coming online. It used to be the social services building. That building used to hold about 1,000 people a day in there. The court estimates, according to the Nassau County Attorney's Office, they'll have about 800 to 850 people in there. But the difference between the old use of the building and new use of the building is they used to inject sewage into our main at 300 gallons per minute. They redesigned their injection and retention to now inject 450 gallons per minute. And you design sewers for peak periods, which is about 9:30 to 10:30 on the weekday mornings. So Mr. Carey, our water superintendent, brought this to our attention. And Mr. Roney, Mr. Giovanello, myself, Mr. Carey discussed this. We wrote a letter to the county asking them to put a third-party engineer in this who's used to hydraulics. We met with them, but that'll settle out on its own. But the important thing about this is that it made us aware of a blind spot in our application process. Right now, Lord and Taylor and the Sears building are coming online, will be coming online. The Sears building had about 15 or 18 toilets, and it's going to have 90 now. So the reworking of these buildings is intensifying their use from a infrastructure standpoint. So this study that John's asked you to approve tonight will help us with the infrastructure around 11th Street and Franklin, where the sewage then goes south on Cherry Valley, gravity fed. It'll make us aware of our own restrictions so that when these buildings, we can be advised that they have to, if they're changing anything that intensifies the use, we can mitigate it up front by either designing a retention system or maybe injecting it off hours. So the important thing about this I want to mention is that I've asked Mr. Giovanello on any intakes of applications that are anything but single family homes, they need to go through a verification process for both water availability and sewage availability. Even if it's the same use, we should affirmatively check the box, no change, no impact, or have it studied and have the people impacting us contribute toward it. And I asked them also to check any changes process-wise with Mr. Fishberg in case any legislative changes are required. That's it, Mayor.
Thank you.
Ralph, on number 22, that main replacement at Hinton Road and Stewart Avenue, how long will that take? Would you estimate? Because that's, obviously a very busy intersection.
Trustee Chester, I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
It's night work, so it'll be less, it won't impact as much as daytime work. If you'd asked me about the Meadow Street water main replacement, I would have told you 9 months. But we had delays there exacerbated by the flooding issues. So I think it'll be, John, maybe 6 to 9 months max, would you say? Or sooner? It's only
Like Ralph said, it will be night work. Again, item 22 is just for the inspection services, not to actually install the main. We bid the project out. It was open today. We're going to check references. Once we decide to award the contract to a vendor, we'll receive a schedule and then
Okay.
we'll have a better idea.
Yeah.
Okay, but it will be night work most likely.
County is mandating night work.
That is night work. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, John.
Ralph, question, H2M numbers, like the last couple of years, how are we doing as far as putting that assessment, that
So-
analysis together?
So I've got numbers from purchasing, I've got numbers from H2M. And what I have is, I had them go back to 2014. I actually have a graph. I didn't give it to Ryan to put up on the screen, but I can send it to you and I can show it at a future meeting. So basically from 2014 to 2023, the four major categories of work are engineering work, elevated tank, the new one on Old Country Road, emergency contaminant, which is AOP 1,4-dioxane, and then the lead issues that relates to corrosion control, the sampling, all the investigations doing. So the engineering work from 2014 to 2023 was $1,161,000. The elevated tank work, this is just H2M paid work, was $721,154. The emergency contaminant was $4.8 million. About $825 of that went to other vendors during the emergency interim phase. So it's probably more like $4 million. And then the lead sampling, it stands at $503,000. And that was just for 2022 and 23. Overall, over 10 years, $7.2 million. If you take out the once in a lifetime elevated tank and the once in a lifetime emergency contaminant, and hopefully the once in a lifetime lead issues, the normal engineering work is about $116,000 a year. Within that range of work, we spoke with H1. We actually had a WebEx last week, myself and Mr. Carey, and we talked about which opportunities are specialized that requires their chemist or their water people, because some of them require software, not just knowledge. One of the early targets we think we can pull out of this outside work, and we do other engineering work besides with H2M, but I realized H2M was where the question arose. We think that some of the GIS services that are provided, GIS services have a great future role for us. I identified it in the last two budgets as an area of interest. We've kind of been like stepping into it, baby steps, but it's the tip of the iceberg what we've done. We spent maybe 20, 30, almost $40,000 on this service. We think, John and I were talking about this the last couple of days. We actually think we might have a need for a full-time GIS person, but in the interim, and that might be next year's budget, in the interim, we maybe can train some of our engineers to study it, but it's a very, they come out with AutoCAD training from engineering school. GIS is very specialized. We started this back in finance, but we had to, when we had to equate our lots between the county and the village parcels, and we used Chris Kobos, who was with Sidney Bound at the time. When Sidney Bound got sold to Leo Group, Mr. Kobos went to H2M, so we followed him there. And so he's been providing this service. We think it's something we need to bring in-house though, long term. So that's one of the areas we think. As projects come up, we also, with the water tank, there's a parking lot next to them, the Ethical Humanist Society. That was originally scheduled to be H2M work. We've taken that back in-house. John is having that done inside with the new engineer. So we are trying to use our own people more for these other projects. The last 3 years have been kind of confusing with COVID, the loss of staff, and we worked for expediency versus trying to spread the word out among different engineering firms. That's where we are right now, though. I'm not done with this. I think there's more to be done here, but it looks like most of the work's been specialized. And in the graph will go like this, and it jumps up. It's leveling off again. And all the engineering services are very steady, smooth line. So it's been pretty consistent over the years.
Thank you. Thank you for the call.
Ralph, I just had one quick follow-up,
Yes,
please.
trustee.
And that's with regard to the emerging contaminants. You said the expenditure was somewhere around 4.8 million, correct?
Yes, it started in 2019 at $350,000. 2020 was our most intense work at $2 million. And then 2021, 1.5 million. You got to remember with the emergency contaminants, I'm no expert in this area, but my understanding from my conversations with H2M is when the state identifies a new emergency contaminant they want you to regulate, or they want to regulate, they usually give you a 2 to 3 year period where you can develop the treatments and test them. With AOP, they gave us like 3 months. If we're not for COVID, we would have out of compliance in the 4th month. There were deferrals given to us after any community that was actively designing and implementing these systems was given a deferral. As long as we were maintaining those things on a quarterly basis, and we had a report on a quarterly basis, the information is on our website from day one, then they would allow us to keep the deferral. Our deferral ended in May of last year, and we're in the compliance.
But my only point was going to be, and thank you for that detail, was that we are, believe the village is part of a lawsuit of a class action lawsuit in the emerging contaminant area. And in the unlikely scenario that there is a settlement, there's a chance that we could, of course, benefit from that settlement. I'm not saying that it's going to happen. I don't know if it's a long shot or not, but there is an action being taken as a result of some of the damages caused here and then the
Yes.
money's expended.
There's 3 notes about that. We have a lawsuit that Chair Edling is handling for us. I heard rumblings of a settlement being reached, I think with DuPont, but it hasn't been confirmed yet. The other thing is too, the emerging contaminants we have about costing us about $53 million, give or take, about $50 to $53 million. About 50% of that is coming back from Environmental Facility Corps funds. So this, if you look at it that way, this $4.8 million gets cut down to 2.4. And the third thing is that there was a Genesco settlement years ago for the contamination at wells 13 and 14 at the Garden City Country Club. Mr. Carey has been discussing this with our environmental attorney, Dave Udelson. We think that the dioxane should have been part of that lawsuit, and we're investigating if there's a possibility that that could be reopened. Of course, we brought to the legal committee and the board when we reach that point of information, but there's that we're working on that as an angle too.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. One thing on the agenda that I wanted to share, number 12. Many may have recalled Ryder Weinstein coming in back on May 18th to the meeting and asking for the ice cream trucks. And since that time, I received one email from a resident concerned about in the Adelphi section about the noise of the music and kids running in the street. But I've also received a number of requests for ice cream trucks, and the board, we've all, I've had an opportunity to talk to the different members on the Board of Trustees and with some ice cream truck vendors. And I have a pilot program that I have put on the agenda that I think really addresses all the concerns. It starts in a very, it's a small step. It would be limited. It would be a 4-week pilot program beginning Monday, July 31st and running through August 24th. I spoke with Paul Blake about this as well, and the police commissioner. It's subject to completion of an investigation into these companies to make sure everything is good, would have a Good Humor truck and a Mr. Softy truck participating in this pilot program. And it would be limited to the 5 village playgrounds. So we would have, and then alternate sides. So the first week, would have Edgemere, Nassau Haven and Tullamore. The one vendor could go to, Hemlock and Grove the other, and then would switch it the second week. So everyone would get a little, taste of Good Humor and Mr. Softy, and let's see what we think of ice cream trucks in a very limited pilot program. Sales would be only Monday to Friday between 1 and 8 p.m. And that is the proposal. I have it on here. Board authorizations requested to begin a pilot program to allow ice cream trucks in the Village of Garden City for 4-week period, beginning Monday, July 31st, concluding Friday, August 25th, pending the approval of the police commissioner and completion of the investigation. There'll be 1 vintage Good Humor ice cream truck and 1 Mr. Softy truck. The Good Humor truck had reached out to me after seeing the Garden City News article that we were considering ice cream trucks. And Allison Weinstein, who is Ryder's mother, had given me the contact information for a local Mr. Softy truck, who is the local Roots, and that's who we're is interested in participating. That's the detail of it. I had actually included also would do no music, because that is a potential problem unless there is a feeling, when it gets to the park that Paul Blake thinks it's a good idea for them to do a minute of music to let the neighbors hear that the ice cream truck's there. We'll kind of use discretion in that. So, I don't know. if-
Good to me.
Yeah, so that's our venture into ice cream truck. Thought it might be a nice way to bring a little joy.
They're gonna be at staffed parks.
Yes, it's only the staff parks. And thank you, Mike, what has been helping me on this too, with coming up with how we could work it in with the park program.
And we haven't mentioned the parking field 7N, I don't think.
I'll let
Number
you-
11,
I'll let you. talk.
expand eligibility. Board authorization is requested to expand eligibility for parking permit for parking field 7N to include residents of Hampshire House under the same conditions, terms and conditions as those of Hilton Hall residents. You may recall that we gave for no fee parking permits to residents of Hilton Hall, which has no underground parking. Hampshire House has limited underground parking, and so we are extending the same eligibility for a parking permit to them. And that's what this provision is. We had request from people in Hampshire House and one of the gentlemen spoke here at a meeting recently, and they wondered why they were not included. There didn't seem to be any reason why they were not included. And so this is simply to allow them to apply for a parking permit. Yes, Irene?
Would the board expand the number of parking spaces available for permits?
Well, what was our view, Commissioner? Did we think all those spaces were being used each night? I thought there were. Right, I thought there were many open spaces to the point that we were going to reduce the number of spaces at one point. This is just based on observation of use of those permit spaces in 7N.
We checked on 3 random dates at 4 a.m, which is usually when everybody's in. Hopefully.
Exactly.
And the lowest day was 21, so we could say that's probably a safe number. So we may be able to accommodate them. If not, I will work with my officers, advise them that in the beginning, if it's accepted, we'll allow, if we see a permit or two outside the box, we'll we'll let it go, and then we'll come back to you. But we're asking if we may need more spots.
So there's 21 spots that are not being used. I didn't really get that.
Yes, I think a lot of people in that building, they have all the residencies, so I think sometimes they're there and sometimes they're not. We counted and we seem to have spots available, so I mean, maybe in September they'll be all back, but we checked these in June before school was out. So that's what we have right now. We can keep checking, but right now I think we might be able to handle some. It depends on how many we get out of that building. That'll be the determining factor.
Do we know how many we might be getting out of the building roughly?
Sorry?
I think when
Yeah,
they're free,
we didn't expect many.
yeah, when they're free, I think which there was some
that's a
discussion
whole
back
noth-
when
that's a
we
whole nother
voted on
issue.
this. People may get the free permit and to have it, but they're not using it, which seems to be the case. So maybe we'll hold off. I like the idea of the commissioner. I don't think we need to add more at this
That
point.
means that it's not a parking permit, but a hunting permit for a space.
If I may, Mayor, that provision subject of a local law. This would require an amendment to the local law. Well, the proposal ought to be to set a date for a local law hearing to amend the current local law so as to add the residents of Hampshire House to that section of law.
Because the existing local law mentions Hilton Hall.
It doesn't mention Hilton Hall by name. It is a convoluted attempt to describe the building as being on the corner of, I'm not sure exactly how it's worded, but it's worded something to the extent of being on the corner of Hilton and Seventh Street. And it clearly applies only to Hilton Hall, but doesn't mention Hilton Hall by name. And doesn't, and the current description would not extend to residents of Hampshire House.
All right, so we have to amend the local law.
Yes.
All right, so hopefully you can send us what you think we should have on the agenda for August, and then we can put that on. I don't
And-
think there's a day-to-day rush on this over the summer for the people of Hampshire House. I think they can wait till the August meeting to get the permit.
We'll note.
Well, what I would suggest then is to have a resolution today to hold a public hearing at the next board meeting on a local law to be presented. And also, it would seem to me that we probably would mention by name Hilton Hall and Hampshire House rather than the convoluted description that we have now.
Great, okay, well, I move to suspend the procedures and add a resolution onto the agenda that will hold a public hearing at the next meeting on August 17th, 2023, to expand the eligibility consistent with agenda item 11.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Okay. All right, do we have any,
Thanks, thank you, Gary.
all right, any comments, citizen comments on agenda items? Anyone in the room with a citizen's comment on an agenda item? There being none, anyone on Zoom with a citizen's comment on an agenda item? Okay, no comments. Next, I will,
I'm
we have a-
sorry, Ms. Mayor. I just had, we skipped over trustee comments and I just had one quick note. I'm sorry if that's
sure,
okay. Thank
of
you.
course.
Rich Catalano asked me, Rich is very involved in one of the senior folks on the Say No to the Casino organization, and he said that there's a new website that they think is really terrific. It'll be in the record, but just let me mention what it is and I'll spell it out. It's I guess it's not really hard. No Casino on Nassau. Okay, so it's NOCASINO. I guess it's No Casino Nassau, NASSAU.org. But he was very excited about that and thought it would be very helpful in our opposition. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you for sharing that. Okay. Any other trustee comments? Okay. Any resident comments on Zoom on agenda items? All right, do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the June 15th meeting?
I move.
All in favor?
Aye.
And moving on to the formal agenda, I'm proposing, I have some appointments subject to Board of Trustees approval. Proposing appointment of Shet Poole, 73 Second Street as an alternate member of the Planning Commission for a term to expire April 6, 2026. He's replacing George Senkin, whose term expired back on April 3rd of 2022.
Greg.
Sorry, Gregory Senkin. Yes,
Bless you.
April 3rd, 2023, that expired.
Yes.
Do we have a motion?
Yes, I move.
A
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that passes. I also propose appointment of trustees Charles Kelly, Ed Finneran as members of the Zoning Change Review Board Committee with a term to expire April 1st, 2024. Do I have a motion?
I have a motion that we accept them.
All in favor? Aye. I propose to appoint Richard Williams of 411 Stewart Avenue as a member of the Zoning Change Review Committee for a term to expire April 1st, 2024. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we appoint them.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have a motion to, or I propose appointment of Jack Hartog of 82nd 82 Second Street as a member of the Zoning Change Review Committee for a term to expire April 1st, 2024. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
I propose appointment of Lynn Krug of 2 Weidler Court as a member of the Zoning Change Review Committee for a term to expire April 1st, 2024. We have a motion?
I'll make the motion again.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I propose reappointment of Maureen Lyons of 8 Plattsdale Road as chairperson of the Civic Beautification Committee for a term to expire April 1st, 2024.
I'll make the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
I propose reappointment of Althea Robinson of 65 Garden Street as a member of the Civic Beautification Committee for a term to expire April 1st, 2024. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I propose reappointment of Kathy Oro of 4 Maryland Avenue as a member of the Civic Beautification Committee for a term to expire April 1st, 2024.
I will definitely make the motion today. Yeah, definitely.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I propose reappointment of Patricia Seiler of 159 Rockaway Avenue as a member of the Civic Beautification Committee for a time to expire on April 1st, for a term to expire April 1st, 2024. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Favor?
Aye.
Great. And now on to the consent calendar. And just to confirm, Mr. Baroni, I think we had, actually, this is Ralph Swazi on item number 13. Are we deleting the last line? This increase was included in the 2023-24 Justice Court budget? Okay. Okay, and there was another correction as well. And I guess we can remove number 11 now. Would that be appropriate, Mr. Fishberg? We have motion to remove number 11. Someone make that motion since we already voted.
Yes,
Okay,
I make that motion.
all in favor? All right, so that's removed. And the other correction was number 22, the word bidding was deleted. Is that right? Yes. Yeah. Or number 32 in the title? All right, so number 32 will read as the title, New York State Consolidated Funding Application for Grants, 2023-24 fiscal year capital projects. Everything else remains. Okay. All right, so do I have a motion? Yep.
Was there a typo on one of yours, please?
I got it. All right, so I make a motion to approve the consent calendar with number 11 deleted and the corrections just noted. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimously passes. All right. All right, the other items on the agenda was permit for the Garden City Country Club. I didn't mention that, and the bird sanctuary, great sleep out.
Good catch.
Mary,
Have any?
Mary.
Oh, it's not. Okay, one important announcement is we are changing the September Board of Trustees. I skipped right over that, number 4. The September 14th Board of Trustees meeting is being changed to Wednesday, September 13th at 7:30 PM. And the Traffic Commission, which precedes the Board of Trustees meeting, is also being changed until Wednesday, September 13th. And, you know, the reason for this change is so that the board is able to attend the annual dinner of the Nassau County Village Officials Association. All right, do we have any citizens' comments? Anyone in the room with a citizens' comment on a non-agenda item?
I just wanted to thank you for your consideration of the request by the Garden City Bird Sanctuary. I'm Jackie Reinhardt. I'm on the board of the Bird Sanctuary and live on Linden Street. But I want to thank you for considering that we host that event. It will raise awareness of homelessness and also raise funds for the valuable work that the inn does. And so 75% of the proceeds from that event will go to them and 25% to the Bird Sanctuary. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. and Thank you for doing that. Any other citizen comments?
Steve Alardi, 139 Meadow Street. Ralph, I know I've been after you for many years on the sidewalk east of Clinton, Stewart Avenue, so I see that's just about done, so thank you. Is there any status update on the library HVAC and the roof projects?
The library roof project has been awarded to Cornerstone. We're currently reviewing their submittals and schedules before allowing them to begin work. The library HVAC project, delivery of the chiller has been made not on site in a storage warehouse. We are waiting for all the other equipment to arrive before allowing them to begin work. Because the current system, although limping, is still functioning.
Okay, any information gathered on the Meadow Street sidewalks that I've talked about the past couple of meetings, as far as the people who paid for sidewalks when the street was originally going to be done prior to the water main work?
So Steve, I asked John to look back to see if we could pull that information, but we don't have the records beyond 6 years on that, so we can't locate what was sent out. So the only source of information would be the residents themselves if they had invoices or the letters, but we don't have the records ourselves.
Okay, but just, walking on the street, it's fairly easy to tell that the new looking sidewalk blocks in front of the tree area that is raised on several properties are the ones that were replaced last time versus the sidewalk that looks to be, 50 years old, but level. The discussion that took place at the very beginning of the meeting regarding people having access to St. Paul's. As you probably all will attest, I'm an outspoken citizen in the village as well, who did not get any kind of tour of the facility. But my question is, was anything removed by anyone from St. Paul's?
No, nothing's been removed. And just to be clear, I'm not sure I'd call it a tour. It was going in to see what a tour suggests. It's something quite lovely. We were going in to see the status of the inside of the building and some significant pieces like the stained glass windows. And I didn't receive a request, as I mentioned, from anyone else, yourself included. And you can always reach out if you have a request.
Okay. From the postings online, it seemed like it was more of a tour. And there's been some discussion about the quantity of Bibles that are sitting there. And perhaps a Bible was removed from St. Paul's. I don't know if that's true or not.
Can I ask who's saying that?
Yeah.
I just said it.
No, but you just said that someone says that a Bible was removed. Okay, so I was on one of the explorations and nothing was taken. So the question, who's saying that a Bible, or again, Bibles have been there since it was closed. So we're talking 40 years ago. So who's suggesting that they were removed?
I
Because
will
I know
gather
nothing was
more
removed.
information and then I'll bring it to the next meeting.
I think there was some comments that Don did walk out with a Bible And he mentioned that he walked out with it and he returned it. And then he did discuss it with the people who were there. I'm happy to chat with you about it, but that's true.
So,
Okay, we had a very limited look at the building, and I assume you did, and Michelle, that was your, what's that?
I think this was another visit.
Okay. But you also had your first visit there at St. Paul's, and a lot of it is a little too dangerous to walk around much. And we just got to look at it. And I said at the time, it was upsetting to see how this building was allowed. All the good woodwork and everything else was allowed to deteriorate as long as it did after the village bought it in 1993. I think it was criminal.
Okay. I mean, it's very conflicting information that you say how dangerous it is. And in other meetings, we had people here say it's safe to walk through. They didn't even need masks. So it's troubling, the conflicting information that we're told about the building.
So Steve.
But I don't want to open up a whole St. Paul's thing. That wasn't my point. The last thing I just want to mention is I wanted to congratulate Karen Altman on her pending retirement and thank her for, working with me over the years. She's been very helpful, very nice, and I think it's a big loss for the village, but I wish her well, and I hope we find an adequate replacement soon so she can maybe enjoy the tail end of the summer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yes, Mr. Welton.
Good evening, Mayor. Just a quick update on the village. Waxing the City exited the lease that it was at and moved one block north. All right. Anastasia, the salon that's been there for 41 years, exited yesterday. And they moved right next to where Sparrows is, which was something called a day spa. So they took that location there. Beauty Kiss, which is on the corner right next to June Nails, directly across the street from Leo's, is exiting. 171 7th Street, my old office, is still vacant. Good news, Noema is planning to open in the next 2 or 3 months. Walk Street, work in progress. East Rockaway Coffee, a work in progress. Sparrow up and running, well received. DPW, if we can at some point in the future, if we can install electrical outlets at the base of the poles. So whatever future events when I'm long gone need electricity, we don't have to run wires and tape and on the top and on the bottom. It's a danger. It's just something we have spoke about for the last 25, 30 years. And I'm a good humor alum. I was a young man. I drove a truck for 2 months. So I'm very proud of that in Brooklyn. But I will tell you, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 businesses that sell ice cream, excluding the supermarkets and excluding the restaurants. So I think it's a great idea. I think it's a wonderful thing for the kids. Perception becomes reality. I hope that we don't expand it to where it may conflict with the businesses that sell ice cream. And I'm assuming Ivorone Brothers will and Tony Taco will. And that is it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Yeah, and that's definitely, we would not, we're thinking of the businesses and it's in the parks, not near any of
Hey,
them.
I'm an alum. I got it. I think it's great.
John, I just had one quick question about Ivorone and Tony's Tacos timing, construction, et cetera.
Compliance, filing, applications, insurance. I would say Ivorone will be faster than Tony Taco. It would be my assumption. Would you guys agree? I think that would be, so maybe 7 months and then 8 to 10 months, Yeah, I mean, it depends on how quickly you're dealing with a lot. By the way, these changes that we saw in all of these tenants is endemic of all downtowns. This is really post-COVID inability of the principals and the landlords and the owners and the tenants coming to conclusions about their rent escalations going back into full effect after COVID. So what has happened is some landlords have been fighting with some of the tenants legally and have unfortunately taken the course where they only said you have to pay the full load, and the tenants just said we just can't do it. So it's really, this is a post-COVID event that's kind of finally catching up with the tenants as they move forward. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, any questions or comments, citizen comments on Zoom? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.